What is going on? Welcome back to Financial Journey. So today we're going to talk to you on Rivian. I want to go over some of the current data points, break it down on what's been coming out about the company itself, and go over everything else that you need to know. But first, make sure to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. I always greatly appreciate that. And with that said, let's get right to it. So based on Friday, it did go down 0.31%. So it was getting pulled down with the broader market due to PPI data. So CPI and PPI last week weren't necessarily the most optimistic. So this upcoming week with the FOMC meeting minutes coming out, they'll give a good indication on what the Feds are truly thinking on rate cuts, potentially, of course. So that is going to be a very volatile part of this upcoming week. And then over and above that, you do have NVIDIA and then yours truly, so Rivian earnings. And oddly, when it comes down to Rivian's upcoming earnings, I haven't seen all that many people talking on it, and more so, I guess, targets. So production targets, price targets, and things like that. A lot of people are just coming out with these types of articles saying that here's what to expect, just talks on earnings per share, revenue, and just watching how much they are burning through due to their operations, which is all very common knowledge stuff. Even their last earnings, they did burn through about 5.21 billion. So everyone knows that they are burning through a ton of money. So not that much analysis. And I don't know why. Maybe just people's appetite for risk has gone up. So they're more focusing on Bitcoin, and a lot of the other small market cap companies are squeezing over the last couple of weeks. So I'm not really sure why people is not focusing on Rivian. EV sector has been very volatile and kind of been lagging the broader market somewhat. So maybe that's some reason. I'm not really sure. When it comes down to Rivian unveiling any news, there hasn't been anything, no recent SEC filings. There was that social media post and a couple of other social media posts on Twitter and whatever else. But one of them was associated to the R2 being unveiled in March. So that one is going to be absolutely key, a very big talking point probably in their upcoming earnings, because there's a huge amount of demand in SUVs, price point, and plus it does qualify for that 7,500 rebate or credit or whatever it is. So ultimately the R2 is going to be huge for Rivian, so that's going to be something that they can talk on in a positive light, because there's a lot of things that they do need to answer for. I don't really see it as that big of a deal, but the market seems to think otherwise, as well as analysts. So I'm going to talk on that. But their recent unveiling of production and delivery numbers wasn't necessarily to par. So that is something that they do need to really talk on, validate, and give a good explanation where it kind of calms investors. If they do fail to give a good explanation though, this is where the market is going to jump all over Rivian and start screaming that they have a demand problem. So it's very fickle. The market's been very dedicated on future guidance, and if you are not cutting it, you are going to get slaughtered. So definitely Rivian has to choose their words very, very wisely. For this upcoming earnings though, just to give you a quick overview, so analysts aren't that optimistic as they once were. So even looking at earnings per share right now, with 17 analysts giving estimates, there's a consensus of negative $1.32, and that actually is a little bit worse than what it previously was 4 weeks ago, and that was negative $1.31. So analysts are anticipating for Rivian to burn through a ton of money. So that's not the best thing that the market is going to hear. Looking at the revenue though, similar kind of situation, analysts are not that optimistic, because right now there is 20 analysts with a consensus of $1.26 billion in revenue. So that is a little bit lower than what it previously was 4 weeks ago, and that was 1.28 billion. And so analysts are getting a little bit more bearish on Rivian, and I'm not really sure why. I really do like Rivian genuinely, and this is why I still own it, still cover it, and everything else. Looking at the recent analyst ratings though, even about that, Deutsche, Barclays, and Goldman Sachs all gave about $16 to $17 price targets. So Emmanuel, who has a 37% success rating, Dan 45%, and Mark 61% success rating. So analysts seem to have gone a little bit more bearish on Rivian versus the previous, like they were very optimistic. So let me know your thoughts on that. And while I'm still on Interactive Brokers going into this upcoming week, the technicals do look fairly good despite Friday's pullback and a lot of volatility on Friday. So looking at the Elliott Wave technicals, it does have a pivot point for roughly about $15 for Rivian. And for as long as it is above that, then it is anticipated to get to between the $19.40 and $20.30 range. So let me know your thoughts on that. Also on a side note, if you're looking for a lot of good compiled information, take a look at Interactive Brokers for all of this information information to be completely free. But of course, if a lot of the data points coming out this week, such as the meeting minutes, Nvidia, or even Rivian's earnings itself, if that is negative, you're going to see short jump all over them. So going into this upcoming week, short interest is 16.35%, and that works out to be 109.66 million shares overall are being shorted. So fairly high stuff. Even looking through Interactive Broker short availability does indicate around 2.3 million shares is available to be shorted. So shorts don't have all that much ammunition, but still with BlackRock and a lot of the other bigger names getting into Rivian, a lot of that is just for the purposes of lending out shares. So that's something just to kind of consider. And I'm only bringing that up because I have seen a lot of people talking on how BlackRock and Vanguard are in Rivian, and that is a very bullish catalyst. And I kind of disagree. So let me know your thoughts on that. When it comes down to the technicals though, with it at $16.30, it is trading between this pivot and this R1. So 16.08 is going to be that next strong support. And coincidentally, it did bounce off of that on Friday. And then vice versa, $16.89 is going to be that next strong resistance that you'll want to watch for it to break above. So just take a mental image, or I guess note, of a lot of the strong support and resistance points, just in case you are going to be swing trading it or whatever else. Looking on the chart though, it is in the higher percentile of the Bollinger Band, below both the 50 and 100-day moving averages. Looking at stochastic though, you do see a start to a nice bullish sentiment, so the white line above the red. So of course that does mean it can potentially pull up. You really want to watch for it to get above this, or about the high 16s, because that was the previous high. So in order for the trend to solidify and the upward trend to kind of be confirmed, it needs to get above that point. Number of investors have been getting into Rivian over the last little bit, ever since it looks like January the 18th or 19th, one of those 2 days. So of course, a lot of value investors have been getting in, such as myself and bigger institutions. But I feel like especially a lot of them and a lot of big money on the sidelines are just waiting for Rivian to unveil their earnings. These are some of the transactions that did occur on the secondary market above $100,000 from Friday. So a lot of big money is still looking at Rivian, but nowhere in comparison to, I guess, the last little bit. So a lot of that, like I said, does validate that they're just waiting on the sidelines just to have confirmation of their earnings. So aside from that, you have some pretty big ones: 1.92 million, 8.82 million, and then just 4.61 million. So definitely, it'll be a pretty exciting week for Rivian investors and just growth stock investors as well. So give yourself a shout out. Where do you see things going post earnings as far as a price point? And when it comes down to production targets, what's your estimate for 2024? Like I said, a lot of people like to just talk on earnings per share and whatever else, the basic stuff, but nobody's really talking on production targets. I personally feel 75,000 is a base. Of course, higher the better, but logically though, if it's anything lower than 75, the market similarly is just going to slaughter it, because future guidance or failing to give good future guidance is going to be detrimental. And if it is lower than 75, automatically people are going to start saying that there's a demand issue, and they're going to kind of lower the standards from themselves. So it needs to be at least 75 in my own opinion. But then again, what do I know, right? Let me know your thoughts. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. One final thing I just wanted to share with you: take advantage of this promo. Simply sign up for an account with Moomoo, throw $100 at it, and you get 5 free stocks. Each stock is valued up to $2,000, so take advantage of this. Link in the description below and also the comments. With all that said, appreciate all of you watching.